Yes.
Pop. Sorry, I didn't get it. Check, check. Check, check. Yeah. Check, 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 check. Check, 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 check. I.
Are you glad you found some audio people?
Oh yeah, it's amazing. We got this one. Thank you, Josh.
Isn't Macy behind us?
And Macy's sitting right by you.
Next to me?
Right next to you. Yeah.
She's next. No, you are.
No,
Oh, it is.
believe we have everyone here. Seems that way. All right. We'll begin. Okay. I'm going to light a candle of life and love for both Sue and for our community. It's going to be safe. It's going to be a little hurricane thing. Good. Whoops. Whoa. Okay. I'm also going to sound a gong because it is an ancient lineage of ceremonial openings that have echoed for centuries over mountains and valleys. And Sue loved gongs, so we're gonging. Welcome, family, friends, tribe, life, with Sue no longer in it. And never again to be joyously blinded by the dazzling light of her radiance. And again, how is it possible to do with words? I wish I knew the answer, but I don't. I miss my angel sister unbearably. And from my dark cave of retreat, I have found solace in the work of Francis Weller, who writes on the wild edge of sorrow. My grief says that I dared to love, that I allowed another to enter the very core of my being and find a home in my heart. Grief is akin to praise. It is how the soul recounts the depth to which someone has touched our lives. To love is to accept the rights of grief. So we cannot feel the fullness of our honoring here today unless we feel the fullness of our grief. And I sense the ancient and primal call of our ritual gathering today is to be compassionately holding each other, allowing the sad shards of sorrow to weave us together into something vast and mysterious and comforting, even beyond the words of that quote, as we are gently danced back to the shimmering light, where unbearable loss brings us present to the sacred privilege of this life and of this very precious life. And today is a celebration of that life, a little Irish wake, a high sacred honoring of Sue, and a safe and healing place for broken hearts. I could not have dreamed for a more wonderful sister. Sue walked by my side our entire lives, always looking out for her little brother. We cared for each other effortlessly. And the funny thing is, sometimes she was little and I was big. But it didn't matter, because in the end, we were forged in the crucible of something timeless, soulful, beyond fraternal that traversed lifetimes, and always embraced softly by a transcendent, inexplicable, divine love. To be loved by Sue was to experience the deeper meanings of loyalty and devotion. And all of us here, united by that experience united by the experience of that love, were changed for the better by our deep communions with her. Rare, exquisite, generous, wise, kind, caring, and always there when you needed her. Whether you knew her for decades, years, or even hours, she left a shimmering golden light in all of our hearts that is eternal. I want to quote from John O'Donohue, one of Sue's favorite poets. Let us not look for you only in memory, where we would grow lonely without you. You would want us to find you in presence, beside us, when beauty brightens, where kindness glows and music echoes eternal tones. May you continue to inspire us, to enter each day with a generous heart, to serve the call of courage and love until we see your beautiful face again. In that land where there is no more separation, where all tears will be wiped from our minds and we will never lose you again. I think Sue's digging the ceremony so far. I'm getting some signs from up there. Oh my goodness. Oh. Well, in that vein, coming to a close in this opening, Sue wanted to be honored and celebrated in her passing. She spoke to me a lot about that late at night. Many, many late nights, just me and her. And that in the grace and beauty woven by all of our love here today, our Sue will hear us. So, I feel it important when we gather in a ceremony like this that we give you, the community, a chance to be present for Sue in a deeper way, pretty much right from the start. Individually in the feeling realms, but made all the more powerful by our collective prayer. So I'm going to invite you to listen to a piece of music and in your own way commune with Sue in the sacred resonance of that music, in the mystery and the power of our human, where love, or whatever it is you're feeling, transcends time and space and reaches through this ritual of remembrance to a space of pure being, where all can be heard everywhere and deeply felt in the boundarylessness of infinite heart. So, Taylor, we can close your eyes, bring yourself to Sue in any way that you can. You are deeply loved, Sue. Our prayer is that you are resting in the gentle arms of divine love, that you know this love as you, as the truth of you, in a peace and bliss beyond imagination, as you return to sacred essence and life beyond life. We love you so. We cherish you. We have such gratitude for all of you. In deep reverence, forever and eternity.
It's a little. Oh God, I have to take you all in. So, Sue, I mean, your hummingbird self, I know for sure that you're here. And, I know that she appreciates there wasn't one thing that was chosen for this experience that wasn't by Barn. And the question was always, would Sue have loved this? So, many years ago, I had a conversation with a man named Dale England, who was he was one of the people that was a leader in the living and dying movement. And he said, anybody that you have had a deep connection with, you'll always have that connection. But, and I'm paraphrasing him, the bitch is, you won't see them in physical form. And I was thinking about that, and I thought the touch of her hands, I thought the scent, the musky scent of her keels, and that final kiss on the lips that she would give you when she finally left. None of those things are going to happen anymore. And I was fortunate enough to know Sue for nearly 40 years. We were really good friends. I had dark hair when we met. And in honor of this day, I'm actually wearing the piece that she's wearing in the photo. So, it's nerve-wracking to do this, So, Sue was my person. So I don't know if many of you watch Grey's Anatomy, but in Grey's Anatomy, Meredith, who is the protagonist, talks about her friend Katrina, and she says, she's her person. Your person is the person that you can be a fool with. They accept you completely, warts and all. There is that bond that you have that's incredible. That person sees you. That person meets you. That person hears you. That was Sue. But I know even though she was my person, she was probably in some way all of your persons, because that's the quality that Sue had for everyone, that incredible presence that she had in all of our lives. So one of the words that I've loved is Anamkara. Many of you may know that. We've looked at that. It's the Celtic tradition for a soul friend, somebody that's a deep friend. Maybe in a Yiddish tradition, you say it's a kishka friend, someone that it's really deep. So the Anamkara is a person who's a blessing, the place in your soul where there's a great love, that warmth, and even more important, that incredible feeling of forgiveness. And the beauty of my relationship with Sue, as contemporary as it was, it felt very ancient, just like an Anamkara would be. So there were a lot of things that Sue and I shared. I don't know if you're aware, we were colleagues in many ways, and we created a piece of work called the Motherlode Experience that was a really important piece for both of us. We both shared a love of words, and she was a wordsmith. If you got a card from Sue for your birthday, you were really celebrated, right? But the words could really add vibrance and color to our conversations. We had the ability to go deep into the mystery of being female and our erotic nature, and be vulnerable and tell all those untold secrets that ultimately needed the light of day. We trusted each other. It was a place and a relief to say that it was kind of a groovy confessional. And the other thing I loved is that we could go shallow and silly and be gossipy and laugh and be on the lookout for the latest and greatest, whether it's a book or a movie or a piece of work or a pair of jeans or a phrase or something that would really be a turn on, something that would be inspiring. We knew each other's style to a T. Buying presents was like a treasure hunt. Getting a present from Sue was the essence of what a gift would be. Food was our shared delight. Eating was a ritual. She was a very good eater. Often, our most creative collaborations took place during a lunch. And I loved cooking for her. And we had total comfort in just hanging out. It was seamless. Nothing was off limits, even money. She could be, as you know, testy and feisty, though it was one of her flavors, like cayenne, like a chili. She was also silky smooth and velvety, right? She was strong and she was courageous. This is an incomprehensible, unknowable experience. Even though Sue died 2 months ago, and of course I know she's gone, how can it be that someone so vibrant, so gorgeous, so full of life is gone, and yet she is? Grief doesn't have a timeline. Sometimes when the waters feel calm, I take a breath and seemingly out of nowhere, a piece of music plays, or I read a poem by Mary Oliver, one of her favorites. I open the phone and there's her photo. And she looks like she's going to the room and say, "Angel Heart, how is it going today?" The dam opens and a river of sadness washes over me. Sue's special magic was being a friend. We are gathered here today in our shared love and friendship for this woman, Sue Keel. I always said she had a cast of thousands. But she had the capacity, because her heart was so wide open, that each of us has that magical one-to-one experience with her. My biggest learning was simply being in the moment. Nothing was left unsaid. As we were moving to the end, I looked into that beautiful face and I said, "I'm memorizing you. I'm encoding you on my heart." So I thought that it would be great for Sue's presence to be here in some of her words. And this is a chapbook. It's a book that she wrote in Jack Grape's classes. So I thought I'd give you a couple of phrases of Sue. "And I see us dancing on a whirling dervish beach, somewhere in a trance of joy and profound exhilaration. We will always be tribal together somehow, and I will write an elephant book, and my heart will sing zebras and leopards, and the eagles will soar above me, a drumbeat continent, and send down sacrament for an awakened medicine woman world." So, Sasha?
This is beautiful. Really beautiful. How do you encapsulate 4 decades in 5 minutes? And I'm going to do that. And the best way that I can describe it is Sue was wild, untamed, astoundingly gorgeous, infuriating. We knew how to fight. And in 20 minutes, go out and have a wonderful meal together and come home and drink and dance. So it was dangerous and it was challenging. And what I got was the challenge was at the level of soul. And I'll try and describe that a little bit, but I want to get into how that has come to me because, yes, you fall in love. I saw her. I was married to Ty's wonderful, beautiful mother, and she was pregnant at the time, and Sue walked up to me, and I looked at her, and I went, "Oh, my God," and I turned away, and I couldn't look at her for 3 years. I really honored the relationship, and when Taryn and I moved on, I had a beautiful daughter, 2 years old, I think, and so that was the physical attraction, this incredibly, what I thought was the most gorgeous creature I've ever set eyes on, and now I'm a mess. Because as a man, sometimes you can just put them on the pedestal and lose perspectives. And at the same time, I was very involved with my creativity and my spirituality, so there was a balance. But to jump ahead, 5 years later, we were living in a house off Coldwater Canyon, and Sue was just walking in the lounge with our cat on her shoulder. And in that moment, I guess you call it a defining moment, where I looked at her and I went, I'm going to love this woman no matter what, forever. And what was actually happening to me was that the depth of physical love sank the depths and perhaps raised the elevation of soul love. And it is soul love that is immortal. And I'm aware of multiple lifetimes with Sue and I that have had different iterations. And in this iteration was this challenging woman. And what I want to say about the challenge, we challenged each other's soul to deal with stuff so that in this lifetime we do it and we move on. And it was a powerful, incredible relationship. And at the same time, I look at it now in terms of where life is continuing for me, not anything I would ever expect. This was the last thing. It's, as Bon and I have discussed, it's unfathomable. It's infuriating. It's angering at the gods. It's moments of grief. It's unacceptable. What I did, the minute I heard the diagnosis as an ex-medical doctor, I felt that sinking sense of like, this is not going to be easy. And my grief started from early on, and there were moments of explosions of, if I felt the grief, I'd feel the grief. If I was angry at the betrayal of this on so many emotions that come up around transitions. And yet at the other side of it, there was that sense of, this is a connection that is not about the form that we are expressing ourselves in right now in time space. There's something multidimensional, something that engages the truer self. And so to just shorten this and to jump a little ahead, what's my relationship with Sue right now? You know, you often go, someone's passing, I want them to come to me, I want to see them, I want to touch them. No, she's not doing that. I haven't had that experience yet. But what I do experience is that this energy that Sue brought into the world of, and I just want to add a few things about who she is, incredibly, everything mattered to her. Every second was a commitment to that moment. As most of you know, she would have a relationship with you, and when she's with you, you feel Sue is with you and celebrating you and honoring you. Nothing didn't matter. And it was an incredibly exciting, ongoing relationship where you never knew what was going to happen next. I had a lovely discussion with a channel a few days ago, and I said, you know, what would Sue like to have describing the time that we had together? And they came back with creative. And I went, that's kind of, it sounds a little political to me, to avoid the range of it. But God damn it, it was incredibly creative. And it challenged me to deal with stuff that without someone who was that much a warrior. And she was, her warrior would come out, and you can't play nurturer. When Sue's warrior came out, if you were going to survive, your warrior better come out and sort of deal with the energy. But it was gone when we dealt with it for real. We just dealt with stuff right there. The time that we both realized as, you know, fierce individualists along the spectrum of the negative of that and the positive of that it would be healthier for us to have our own domain, and which we did. And it was, you know, besides sort of certain basic things, it was very smooth. I celebrate the way that she handled this with such intentionality, and here we are. And when I say here we are, what I mean is I sense Sue, the work that she was doing as a spiritual map-making magician, which she is, and she was a fast magician. If she wanted to create something, it wasn't like, you know, me as a one personality drive. I'm going to work it for 9 months before I make the decision, Sue would just go bang, and like, damn it, it was there already. And that was a kind of a discussion that we had when I would call her the names that were descriptive of a fast magician. She didn't like that name, but it's a very powerful magician, and that's what she was. So there's no Sue physically here. It's I don't know how to deal with it except what comes up when it comes up. But what I do feel, I know Sue is collaborating and participating and is with us and is with me. We had a dream that we would find this land up the coast, and in my meditations and going into the imaginal realm, I would see this building, and Sue would describe the same building. And it was a future dream about creating a world of that touched on the antiquity, as Barnes said, of life. And I'm going to finish now. That we continue doing the work that we had a covenant when we came in to do that work. And I feel Sue is doing that work, and I don't feel that if I ask and say, hey, Sue, you know, what do you suggest next, that she won't be there in the fullness of Sue. Leslie Keel, the beautiful, beautiful woman that's, hard to imagine not here tangibly. I want to just say to Barn, my beautiful brother, the magnificence of who you were and how you stepped up for her beyond anything, and I'd love you for that. And Katrina and Carol, where's Carol sitting? Carol, I would, and just last thing, we had enough courage to talk about death, and after we were separated, we would call and I would talk to her about dying, and it's a duality. There's the physical self, but there's the spiritual self who knows that the multidimensionality is the more real. But it was always like, well, who are you with and what's going on? And Carol is here, and it was so beautiful. And thank you for your long, long relationship. My two beautiful children, Shane and Ty, who came, as I said, at 11, and Sue stepped up in the most profound way. And all I can say is that her relationship with you was epic. And the same thing, Shane, with you and Sue, an indefinable kind of depth of honesty. And it was just a learning experience, as the whole thing was. So I can't see everyone's faces, but I can feel the heart of this place, and it's so beautiful. And I just want to say thank you to everyone for having, and also to go a little bit lateral here, for you guys to have had the experience of Sue in that lovely energy. So thank you for the opportunity to speak. And it is an ongoing, immortal conversation, not tangible, but she's there for me. Thank you. I see. Next.
Baby, you and me, we're forever. This is the promise Sue made me after revealing that she and my dad were going their separate ways. But I knew that Sue and I were always meant to be. She claims it was love at first sight. I got naked at the beach on our first date. Typical. Me, age 2. Her, size 2. Double the trouble. Mischievous, curious, rebellious, and willful, the both of us. In the early days, we stayed above my dad's studio on Sunset Boulevard, a Lilliputian attic apartment that suited me perfectly, while the adults had to bend their heads to accommodate the sloped ceilings. Sue and I spent hours making Polaroid movies with my Barbies starring as the heroines. I cast Sue as the villainous giant. She committed to the role 100%, her wild red curls teased out for dramatic effect, stomping around in combat boots and an army jumpsuit. A devoted soldier of love. At 7, they took me to South Africa for the first time. We ate scones with clotted cream and stayed in Sid and Jeannie's thick-walled, thatch-roofed cottage right on the sea. I collected miniature shells and curled up in Sid's lap, brushing his luxurious chest hair with my tiny Barbie brush. The die was cast. They were my grandparents as if they always had been, because they saw and loved me as Sue did. But in every facet of her life, Sue was a matchmaker. She inspired us all to fall in love with each other. She witnessed beauty and depth in everyone she loved, and through that acknowledgement, we became more vulnerable, more trusting of love, more attuned to the singular beauty in one another. She perpetually peeled back the layers to get to the juicy center, excavating the depths of her own soul and inviting us all to follow her there. For many years, we hosted epic Thanksgiving dinners. I flew home from the furthest reaches of the earth to brave the crowds at Whole Foods and wrestle the turkey into its brine, relishing the warmth of our kitchen, the smell of minced herbs and simmering broth. Cooking and eating with Sue was always a full sensory experience. She delighted in every morsel. She could sense the most minute subtleties, tasting, considering, adding a grind of pepper or a splash of Bragg's, pure finesse. She looked like a supermodel, but ate like a truck driver. At once so elegant and so bold, who else has authentically embodied such extremes? As fierce as she was tender, intellectual but playful, body and yet utterly refined, deeply grounded but a complete diva. My dad once told me that when you truly love, all fears subside except for the fear of loss, which deepens. Losing Sue is an epic, gutting loss for all of us. Our deepest fear having come to pass. So what now? In the absence of her delicious physical presence, missing that velvety voice of affirmation on the other end of the line, how do we honor her except by virtue of our own gratitude, delight, joy, and expansion? Her guidance, her love, her wisdom, the countless hours she devoted to unraveling the threads of our fears and emotions, and the laughter, the dancing, the juicy gossip, even the ruptures and the repairs. On the loom of reverence, we will weave these memories and teachings into a tapestry that tells our own love story with Sue. Enveloped in its warmth, we'll be reminded of how magical life has been. Having been loved and seen by such an extraordinary being. We are called to embody the deep beauty that she recognized in all of us, to allow ourselves to shine bright and live. In Sue's words, to step into our power, and more than anything, to love and be loved. Because, baby, you, all of you, and Sue are forever. My beautiful brother Shane is next. I love you all. Thank you. And I love Sue. Come on, let's be real. This is crazy.
I hate speaking in front of crowds, but I'm doing this because I want my mom to hear these words. I don't think what I'm about to say fully encapsulates how magnificent she was and who she was to me personally and how much I loved her, but it's something. So here I go. My mom was a phenomenal woman and my best friend. She was also imperfect like the rest of us, but today I want to celebrate everything about her that was perfect. She was enthusiastic, passionate, wise, smart, vulnerable, deeply curious, a storyteller, kind, caring, warm, an incredible host, and occasionally a little dramatic. She was an actress, after all. Growing up, there were some unhealthy dynamics and codependency between us, but her love, support, and friendship since the beginning far outshined any of our challenges. In the last 10 years, we were able to come to an even greater place of love, understanding, and mutual compassion. I've always been a mama's boy, but we grew even closer and became more than just mother and son. We became the ultimate BFFs. The news of her cancer diagnosis shook me to the core. Wow, I'm like frying up out here. I'm gonna just... Where was I? While waiting for critical test results, the uncertainty of the situation felt like the worst possible anxiety. The pain in my heart was outrageous. I do not have the words to describe this kind of emotional devastation, but I would not wish it on my worst enemy. I miss my mom more than I could possibly describe, but I'm also extremely grateful to have had such an extraordinary mother and to have parted ways full of love and admiration for who she was as a person and for the fiery spirit she possessed. She was the most supportive mother I could have asked for. She was also the most fun to be with and deeply inspiring. An old friend of mine once described her as an activator, and I can't think of a more spot-on word to describe her. Whenever I was confused about something and in need of advice, I would call her and she would provide exactly what I needed to hear to propel me in the best direction. I would often call my mom when I was feeling down, depressed, or overwhelmed. By the end of the conversations, I may not have been cured of whatever I was going through, but at the very least, she would have sparked a pilot light within my spirit. Sometimes a conversation with her during rough times was enough to make me feel like a new person. These conversations would activate a sense of determination, hopefulness, and deeper self-esteem. She had a special way of cheerleading people on and igniting their souls and spirits. And what's crazy is that she played this role for a lot of people. I mean, a lot. As we all know, she was a very social person, perhaps the most popular person I've ever known. My family and I once joked that she had a PhD in phone. Whether it was with the young people she'd work with during her City Kids era, the drama students at University of Cape Town, or any of her numerous close friends, she always seemed to play the role of supportive mother and mentor. She listened deeply and reflected back their own unique goodness, truth, and beauty. Lately, I've been calling upon my mom's spirit when I feel overwhelmed or anxious. She was courageous and fearless, and remembering that helps me pluck up the courage to take risks that I would usually avoid. When I sift through my memories of my mom, some particular things stand out. They're all pretty random, but here they are. I remember all the times we would watch tennis or basketball and how fired up and invested we would get. I remember how she would sing in the car to songs on the radio, seemingly knowing every song that came on, and how she joyously danced at parties she hosted. She instilled a love for music in me at a young age, a passion that will always be with me. We loved to play with our cat, Luna. We watched The Voice night after night with her and my dad, and I was struck by how emotionally affected she would get by the performances, often being moved to tears. I remember watching the plays she acted in and directed during her master's degree at University of Cape Town. I was blown away by the depth, soul, and visual beauty that she co-created with her students. I remember the delicious meals she made for us, countless times. But perhaps the most prominent memory, as of now, is the last day I spent with her before she passed. I had traveled up to Ojai to be with her as her passing was imminent. I only had one day to spend with her, and I knew it might be our last day together. It was just her and I in her room, lying down facing each other. She told me how much she loved me, beyond the beyond in her own words. She said she would be my guardian angel. During the months leading up to her passing, we would often tell each other how much we loved and appreciated each other. I would tell her how grateful I was for everything she did for me. But in this particular moment, as we lay there gazing at each other, all remnants of doubt as to whether I was truly loved had vanished. She fell asleep with her hand in mine, and I told myself to take in this moment as deeply as I could, to feel the warmth of her hand and the simultaneous peace and heartache. While she was sleeping, she would intermittently squeeze my hand in little convulsions. It was a most real and surreal experience. Thank you all for your incredible words, and my deepest gratitude to all the people who took care of my mom throughout this process, especially my uncle, wherever you are, Barn, who was her steadfast and loving partner the entire time. And a special thanks to the Cohens, who hosted an amazing, unconventional Shiva that was deeply moving for me and let me stay at their house for 2 weeks and kept me under their wing with great love. Thank you all.
Hello. For those of you who don't know me, my name's Lila. I'm Sue's niece. Thank you all for being here to celebrate and honor her life. If my cancer and death journey have taught me anything, it is that grief is love's shadow. It is the moments of longing for the life lived and the one that was not. For the memories shared and the ones that had yet to be made. One cannot live in the fear of the shadow, but with embracing the reality, the light of love can be let in. I always say I have two hands and can hold grief in one and life in the other. This loss was and still is unfathomable and unimaginable. But now I know that the immeasurable depth of my grief is a testament to the unconditional love and relationship that my aunt and I shared. To sum up Sue in a speech is impossible. The Sueisms are endless, lighting up any room she walked into by captivating everyone instantly. Her eagle and flaming heart emoji usage, her incredible wrapping and ribbon collection, the very specific way she ordered her drinks and food because our Sue knew what she liked and how she liked it. Her profound teachings and wisdom, her contagious laugh, the way she could see into your heart. Her dancing, the detailed, colorful stories she told, the specific way that without trying, she embodied main character energy. The way that she promised our mom that she would watch out for Brie and I as a mother figure when she passed away. All of who she is and was, I honor and celebrate and mourn. You never know how much time you have left with the person you love. It's a lesson I've learned through the pain of both my mom and aunt dying and the work I do with cancer patients. We often take for granted the moments we have with our loved ones, assuming that there will always be more. But life is unpredictable, and everything can change instantly. It's a realization that emphasizes the importance of treasuring every minute, creating lasting memories, and living so fully. All things that Sue did brilliantly. She understood her life was not the dress rehearsal, but the main event. I hope that we can all take that zest and sparkle and integrate it into our lives and her memory and legacy. I am a firm believer in speaking to my guardian angels, so I'm going to do just that. Auntie, this is not fair or right. What I would give to have you here on earth and healthy, or really just another hour with you. Thank you for fighting so hard. It did not ever go unnoticed or unappreciated. In one of our last conversations, you told me that you wanted to be a part of all of my life chapters. Got from you. I hope you and Mom are having a cooking, snuggling dance party in heaven. I will miss you every second of every day. And as we would always say, I love you infinity and beyond so much I cannot even. Forever, your Lulu Bell. My sister, Brie.
This just feels better than tissues to have my son's whoppy. Hello to all of Sue's beloveds. I can't even handle the reality of today to stand before all of you, honoring the life of my one and only auntie and all of your Sue. I've been writing this speech for a while now. Most days I would just stare at the computer screen and sob. But what I've learned is grief is love. And as long as there is love, there will be grief. Because grief is love's natural continuation. So, I am here doing the impossible, crafting an extremely edited honoring from my most deepest and purest place of love. I don't know life without Sue. This is another whole new layer to navigate to my already broken heart. The two most constant matriarchs in my life gone within 5 years of each other. Two healthy, strong, vibrant women. Two women who have helped weave the fabric of who I am today. My being wants to resist this reality, but I am left with no alternative but to embrace this with agonizing truth. The only way to acknowledge this without completely falling apart is to carry on her legacy and to be in gratitude. Not for the reason that she was taken away from us too soon, but for the love. The love I received from her through all of my life's chapters and hers. The treasured memories we shared, the invaluable guidance, and her unwavering commitment. I vividly remember Sue getting ready, always in front of her magnifying mirror. As a little girl, I would love to watch my mama and auntie get ready. One of Sue's best kept secrets she shared and passed down to me was her method in creating faux freckles. I would observe her with admiration as she would draw them on her nose and a hint on the cheeks. She once told me Norman would tell her it was one of his favorite features about her, and that she had to keep it a secret from him for so long. Well, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Your girl here also applied freckles as soon as makeup was allowed, and my husband used to also comment about how much he loved my freckles. And it was also utter shock when he found out the truth. As you can see, the impact started with freckles and has been immeasurable ever since. Sue truly embodied the essence of what it meant to be fashionably late. 5 minutes was always 15. Being social was her full-time job, plus overtime. Our details queen. Sometimes we'd have to ask for the edited version, but it was always a story like a movie. Recently, a loved one spoke about how they loved her adjectives, some being darling, fabulous, beyond exquisite. The diva in her traumaticism, her actress, the fabulousness and authentic beauty she radiated, her fearlessness, her wise medicine woman. Sue married Jason and I in Umbria, Italy. We all curated and designed a ceremony that so resonated with the spiritual traditions of love and marriage around the world. She, of course, officiated with such love and ritualistic grace. I will never forget that moment. It's single-handedly one of my most cherished memories of all time. Not to mention, I love staring into my husband's eyes and seeing out of the corners of mine her with the biggest smile on her face. I will long for simply saying the word auntie. Seeing her in her kitchen with great music playing dancing in a fabulous outfit with an apron on, cooking. Hearing her say, "Darling heart, my breeze." The smell of coconut and Kiehl's musk as I would get a big kiss hello on the lips, of course. The constant indecisiveness, which she would always call her Gemini. Our salad and French fry lunches. How during COVID her masks would always match her outfit. Our many, many vacations. The Vogue clippings she'd send on what she loved for each season. The 100 emojis she would use in a text. Her 2 cards that you would always get on birthdays and life's major celebrations, marked number 1 and number 2. The high-pitched laughter that would echo through the halls, made even more hysterical when Dad joined. You couldn't help but join in too, even if you had no idea what was so funny. The closeness our family shared. Shopping for her. I would always get the best validation. Breeze, you are taking it to the next level, my angel pie. I could continue reminiscing endlessly, but I will conclude by saying I will miss the many more years we should have had together. I can smell the lilies and incense burning as Sade plays in the background. Now my house fills with the same scents. Two days before she entered the heavens, we came over to say our goodbyes. Jason and I packed up all the boys, which included 2 Dachshunds and a 2-month-old baby Rome, and we headed to Ojai. As I approached her bedroom, I was greeted by the same visuals I had with my mom's final days. It was devastating for me to now see Sue like this. My 2 matriarchs, once so healthy and vibrant. Of course, she had to still doll up for me on her deathbed. Honestly, best looking dying person I've ever seen. We locked eyes and immediately held hands. Even with how weak her body and energy levels were, she insisted on holding my baby Rome right away. She sat him on her tummy and said, "Gaga, it's Gaga Romy time." They both profoundly gazed into each other's eyes. Then she'd stare into my eyes with the same look my mom gave me, the "I failed you" look. And said, "I want to stay with you all so badly. I want to live." She held Rome for a long time after, while letting the dogs kiss her goodbye, the only dog she would let do that. A single tear rolled down her face. Then it was my turn. I'm not going to go into the depths of our goodbyes because that's sacred to us. But what I will say was I gave her all the love I could in that last goodbye. It was an unbreakable connection of love between us both. Our last time to love on each other in the physical. Before leaving her room, she popped her head up from her hospital bed and said, "You know, my Breeze, you are the most like me. I'll be watching you all, baby."
Hello, friends and family. I'm going to read because Sue didn't really approve of my stand-up comedian aspirations. So that's not your strong suit, baby. So I have to respect that, as I respect all things about this amazing prophet, goddess.
We all know and love Sue. She had her way of looking right into your soul and ensuring that lifelong connection. She wanted the best for all of us and from all of us. Gently challenging and encouraging us to strive for that great potential which she could already see with her eagle vision. Well, I guess I have to justify how I get to be as Ty. I'll paraphrase Ty and say, that lucky guy. In January of 1978, I left South Africa to study at the Berklee School of Music in Boston with 2 electric guitars, and Sue's promised to join me as soon as possible. We had only met 6 months prior, and Sue, as Bree stated, a Gemini, was already a successful actress and a sophisticated supermodel. She was also an outspoken revolutionary. Make no mistake. In August of that same year, Sue Keel finally landed on the New England shores and made a proclamation that Boston was not going to work for her. I did the only thing I could do at that time. I bought an old Chevy Nova and dutifully drove us westward. Only Sue Keel could wield that much power and influence over me. Miraculously, we made it to Los Angeles, where we both went on to live extraordinary lives, completely separate lives that would not have been possible together, or if we hadn't made that bold cross-country trek. We were both blessed with long, loving, bliss-filled marriages, raising amazing, talented, and beautiful children, Devin, Shane, and Ty. Sue never stopped evolving. She did the work, studying, devouring volumes of ancient wisdom and modern techniques, always nurturing and mentoring others with love, always. All while being a dedicated wife and mother, an accomplished actress, and eventually receiving her master's degree from the University of Cape Town. She also became a gourmet cook. When Sue and I reunited here in Ojai, we rediscovered so much love and healing, so much joy and laughter, catching up and sharing each other's life's journeys. Sue definitely raised my awareness and helped me to break some old patterns. Something she loved to say was that my 25-year tenure as Etta James' sidekick had trained me how to be in the presence of a great queen and a diva. She loved to say that. It wasn't quite the same, but Sue was sweet, loyal, forgiving, and caring. And she was a force of nature. When her curmudgeon of a landlady disrespected her, Sue swiftly pivoted and bought the big house up on Foothill Road. We named it the Boulders. Sue's own private Shangri-La right here in Ojai, complete with her own fierce tribe of warrior women. After diagnosis, we witnessed Sue's greatest strengths, her discipline, her determination and resolve. Always beautiful and graceful, always cheerful and inspiring. Meeting every challenge head on, Sue held her head high, and she held us all close through those hope-filled highs and the devastating lows. A couple of weeks after Sue's birthday celebration in June, her magnificent friend Lois Childs flew in from the East Coast to join. the circle of friends and family gathered at the boulders. All of us were holding space for a miracle in unity with Sue's many beloveds around the world, and with Brother Barn, Sue's lifelong companion and hero, finding impossible reserves of strength, compassion, and resilience whenever they were needed. We thank you, Barn, for everything you did and continue to do. Sue loved us all as only she could. Her divine essence is imprinted on our hearts and deeply touches our souls. Our sweet Sue, forever young. Forever young. And a quote I found out of Africa, the story of Karen Blixen that touched Sue so deeply. She brought us joy, and we loved her well. Thank you. I love you all. Love you, Sue. Simone.
On the morning of the day that Sue died, I went down to the ocean at dawn. I felt called to make an offering of roses to the water and to pray for an easy transition when the time came. Later that morning, I went to be with her. Sitting close by, I whispered what the ocean had looked like as the sun rose. I described what the soft light looked like as it hit the waves, and how the air and the water felt, and how the waves carried away the petals that I placed there. Sue listened and smiled. 2 weeks later, on a Saturday night, I was home. I was feeling sad and alone. And I decided that instead of distracting myself with a movie, I would choose a book to read. I wandered over to the bookcase and spontaneously pulled out a thin book of Mary Oliver poetry called 1,000 Mornings. I didn't remember owning the book or even having opened it. I opened the book to a poem called I Go Down to the Shore. I go down to the shore in the morning, and depending on the hour, the waves are rolling in or moving out. And I say, oh, I'm miserable. What shall I do? And the sea says in its lovely voice, excuse me, I have work to do. Curious about where the book came from, I flipped it to the front, and there in Sue's beautiful and bold handwriting was a message written in silver ink, a love note calling me the morning queen, and how she loved me. I remembered that the next morning I was planning to swim in the ocean at sunrise. In this lifetime, I only met Sue and Barn 4 years ago, but the swiftness and generosity of her love was spellbinding. As a sister, a mentor, a teacher, Sue inspired me to want to be more open, more loving, more beautiful, more passionate. Sue taught me that the picture was always way bigger than you think, and that it is worth staying in. Quiet dinners alone with her, or with her and Carol, were master classes in the divine feminine. But it was the final gift of her trust that was the true jewel that I carry deep in my heart forever.
Hello. My name is Tiffany. Sue led our women's group, which met at my home here in Ojai for many, many years. Sue and I drew closer and closer after she moved to Ojai. She liked to call this town her nectar. She loved her garden, the moon, and her boulders. It fed her soul here. When she lost her hair and her body grew frail, she became, as she named it, pure essence. She showed us that her stunning outer beauty was just a mirror reflecting the brightest light of her soul, and she was so beautiful. Sitting in the rawness of her essence, Sue and I fell in love. She found me, and I let her in. And she saw me. And as many here can attest, when you have been seen by Sue, you are changed forever. In her last few days, we had a deep bedside moment, and I was able to tell her she had been my greatest mentor and how grateful I was. I reflected to her many of her powerful teachings, reflected them back to her, and tears fell. When I asked her for a final teaching, she tenderly took my hand and said, "Remember to always lead with love. And when things get difficult, and they will," she said, "always take the high road." I miss my dear friend. Thank you. This is Ocean.
Hello, everyone. So little time to speak about such a grand dame. A healer once called Sue Little Big Back. She fell off a swig when she was 12 and hurt her back. And she was on a journey of finding communion with this back issue. I know this because we spent our time together. I was teaching her Pilates sometimes twice a week, and I would come to her home. And I enjoyed these moments together so much that I would carve out an extra hour just to hang out and speak with her, and she'd share about her life. Little Big Back seemed suiting for her, as she was this petite woman with these fine bones and this incredible beauty. Yet she had this power and strength that she would command a space when she'd walk into a room, and this magnetic energy, larger than life and infectious with her love of life. She showed me how to be big from my smallness, and she had a big impact on this little community. And as everyone's shared, she had a way of seeing your essence and making you feel special in her eyes. And she taught me a lot about claiming my space and standing up for myself and believing in myself. And she brought me into this beautiful group of women from an isolated self, and I'm so grateful to her. It was an honor to spend time with her, and she had a way that we connected on the physical realm and then connected on a much grander spiritual realm. And through ceremonies, we spent many good moments together. And she had a vision in one of the last ceremonies of us all together, that she saw a world, a new world. She saw these babies coming in, and the masculine and feminine uniting and collaborating and moving beyond our separation and smallness into the bigger, grand vision of harmony. And I want to carry on her vision And one of the last messages to me, she said, this baby was our baby. And I feel her with me and in her vision, and carry on what she taught me and how she's impacted us all. I love you, Sue, and I look forward to seeing you again.
Hello, my name is Renee. I am proud to call myself a sister of Sue. Hello, darling angel. I was honored and blessed to do body work for her. Sue and I also walked the cancer path together, often comparing our baldness and our bones, our baggy clothes. But mostly we loved to share the profound teachings that the journey was carrying and delivering to us, the sacred initiation. So many beautiful memories and images I have of Sue, but I think the one that is most imprinted is in my heart, and some of you will also know this. Sue and I, face to face, sitting on the ground, in the center of a circle, in sacred ceremony, surrounded by so many beautiful souls who loved each other and loved us and honored and sang to us while bathing us in rose petals. Her and I, forehead to forehead, third eyes touching, with tears of gratitude and awe rolling down our faces. Dear Sue, thank you for your legacy, for your medicine. You are love, you are light, you are all that is divine. And in this truth, you shall live forever, dear sister. Aho. Simon.
Simon is going to be playing this ancient Celtic piece, and the translation of it is something about a woman of divinity and light living in our hearts forever. And I thought it important to just speak that, because when we hear these pipes, you can't hear me? It's okay. Anyway, I just want you to hear a woman living in our hearts forever.
sorry, I've had a malfunction. These things are held together with wax and string, and I think the sun has...
It's okay, please continue.
Well, that's going to happen again.
Oh, that's okay.
I need something to... I need my tip. I need a bit of... Or just a piece of cotton. Piece of cotton. Actually,
Tissue?
that'll do.
Yeah. Simon, let's reschedule it for later. We can just pay it.
Yeah, why don't we do that? Because... The problem of an old instrument. Well, you had the first half of the tune.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jackie Jax, she would call me. I met the indomitable Sue Keel 30 years ago. She was my artistic director of a youth leadership program. She took me under her wing, and I did not leave her side, except for my Persephone years that she liked to tease me about. And she was my Demeter, who would always hold the lantern for me to guide me back home. I continued to be her assistant / apprentice, as she called me, in many iterations of her work over the years. There was our organization Tribe. I traveled with her to the Sangin Reservation, where she received her eagle wing and her spirit name, Night Sun Moon Woman. There was her Transformance, her signature performance workshops that we did. Then, of course, there was the Motherlode, where we worked with women to reclaim their matrilineal lines, women who thought that they had just come from orphans or slaves or housewives. And then, of course, there was the ceremonies of these recent years, where I was witness to what I believe was her finest work. She was the most influential person in my life. I even drove a Jeep Grand Cherokee, and my kids went to Waldorf because of her. Over the years, at her request, I've written a few pieces and poems for her. I could never say no to her. But this is the one that I really didn't want to write. Yeah, boy. Yes, Sue said, to love, to truth, beauty, courage, freedom, justice, and grace. Yeah, boy, she would say so fiercely in council, with that eagle vision calling out the highest you on that stunning face. Yeah, boy. Even as a child, she said yes to an initiation that would set her on a path to know the unknown, embarking on a lifelong journey of badassery, taking her all the way home. Apparently, she always jumped boulders and slayed dark laws like little girls should be seen and not heard. She taught legions of young people, then women, the art of self-mastery, and me, the power of my word. Yeah, boy. Yes to creating, to crafting your life with artistry, and oh yes, to finding your nectar. Yeah, boy, said the eagle woman, pipe carrier, sister, mother, friend, and my director. Culling from decades of workshops, she trained relentlessly, and I took copious notes. Speak up, darling heart, even if your voice quivers, but by God, reach the back of the room, was one of my favorite quotes. Use cloth napkins for lunch, and lather on love to others like a heaping spread of that good Irish butter. Yes, we are all amazing, but honestly, She broke the mold, hands down, like none other. She was an archaeologist of the soul, showing you how to excavate your very own tomb. A map maker, a soothsayer. She'd even time travel and rebirth you from her womb. She carried the urn of our burdens, our secrets, and our cries. She alchemized them with her wisdom, looking under the under with those penetrating eyes. Her counsel could be sharp, but it was because her medicine was impeccably measured. Yeah, boy. She said, yes, I'll be your person, your very best friend, making each one of us feel so treasured. Those birthday cards with her black uniball penmanship and the wrapping paper with all the extra bows, blessings and magnanimous gestures that meant everything. She taught me how to become a woman who knows her own worth and to dance with the music. She was beyond my mentor, my greatest guide. I miss her terribly, but as a woman of faith with tall prayers, I must believe that she is now doing.
Told Jackie and I that we both come from the same cave. Little did I know that my little teen self would meet a woman who would become my mentor, teacher, friend, my fashion muse, my chosen mother, and later in my adult life, my Shamama Sue. I was 13 years old and attended a human rights march where a man handed me a flyer for a new organization called City Kids Los Angeles. Something in my teen self was called to attend, but had no idea how I was going to get there. I remember calling this number on the flyer, telling them that I wanted to join the meeting, but did not have a ride. The person who I spoke to called me back and said, I organized a ride for you. A person named Sue Keel said she would be able to pick you up and bring you back home after the meeting. I remember hopping into the front seat of Sue's black Jeep Cherokee and immediately being awestruck by her beauty, her big red lips, her South African accent, her energy, her warmth, and her effervescent spirit. She too was smitten by me, and I can say for the both of us, it was love at first sight. Sue was an artistic director at City Kids, where our relationship started. She introduced me to the art of listening in group circles by way of counsel, where we would listen and speak from a heart-centered space using a talking tool. She dedicated her Fridays to facilitate these coalition meetings, giving a safe place for teens from various socioeconomic backgrounds coming from the cultural diverse diaspora of Los Angeles. We would sit in council and openly discuss stories and experiences of social injustices, living in broken homes, violence, gangs, racism, gender bias, substance abuse, and even privilege. We turned our shared stories into bodies of theatrical work to educate more youth throughout LA. Sue graciously fostered and empowered us youth, giving us a safe haven to create, be heard, become peer-to-peer educators, facilitators, leaders, change agents, map makers, and especially truth tellers. Throughout my teen years, Sue continuously blessed me with the tools and gave me the opportunity to dive deeper while learning more about myself, introducing me to indigenous wisdoms, sitting in sweat lodges, to offering me a sacred rite of passage at the age of 21, setting me onwards and upwards into my young adult life. After years of planting individual seeds apart, I had become a mother while she completed a master's degree in theater and shamanic practices. Our reconnection became timely. I was seeking the teachings of an expanded consciousness, while Sue was looking for participants for her Transformance workshops, using her wealth of metaphysical wisdom and sacred knowledge to help people gain self-mastery tools. She also helped develop the Mother Load alongside our lovely Carol Eisenberg. That helped women transform the mother-daughter relationship while unpacking the matrilineal dynamic, inviting me to apprentice while unraveling my personal mother wounds to heal my matrilineal line. Even though my birth mother was absent from me most of my adolescence, I was honored to have gained a mentor and a mother figure who became the moral compass that I had unconsciously longed for growing up. Sue continued to take me under her wings. She generously provided a space for me to participate in healing circles with women who were working with sacred plant medicines. She co-facilitated and guided these ceremonies, known as I'm Not Who I Was, alongside her sister in love, Debs, and friend Elizabeth, creating a safe space for women to heal and connect with the sacramental teachers. She guided me to see beyond the veil as I shed more of my old self, while new revelations in my life emerged. She helped me find joy, humility, imagination, eros, authentic love, integrity, and the true heart essence of our existence. I was called to be of service and started to apprentice with Sue, who allowed me to clearly see the art of selfless service as a genuine healing gift to myself and the world. She encouraged me to learn beyond the eagle heart medicine she carried, to take flight for an expansion of sacred knowledge into the ancient lands of condors in South America and into the motherland of Africa. She knew the urgency of responsibility that was needed for the greater healing of humanity. She had given me the highest spiritual training, the highest education that I could have ever asked for. And I know now that I've encountered her death in order to genuinely weave the tapestry she so gracefully began for me. Sue was a vital force of nature and instrumental to my healing and the many women of I'm Not Who I Was, High Magicians, and Anam Cara. May she forever endure in eternal life as we become a living example of her sacred work. We will live to tell the tale of her medicine, be guided through her great spirit, and be graced with the majesty of her presence in the many forms she will come in. Beyond the beyond, as she would always say, and in the unimaginable realms as our new ancestor. Sue, I will forever humbly bow down to you. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Katrina. Sue is my soul sister and chosen family. To be seen, met, and loved by Sue Keel is truly a blessing. I find it quite surreal she's not in her physical body, yet I know she is everywhere. I see her lounging in this valley, truly her nectar, draped across the topa-topas like only Sue could, with that feline elegance. Her homeland of Africa transported to the boulders. Her light shone so bright, it was impossible, even weeks, even days before she dropped her body, to truly believe she was leaving. It just seemed to get brighter and brighter. Even as her body became more compromised, her light just kept growing. She didn't want to go, and Goddess knows we didn't want her to. I can hold both, the incredible loss and sadness that grief brings with the moments of joy we shared. Dancing in her kitchen, lying on her bed, going deep or shallow, depending on the mood, reading David Whyte, watching the moon rise over the valley, surrounded by her tribe of sisters in sacred ceremony. We spoke most days. We called them tub talks because Sue was normally in the bath in the morning. And we'd catch up. And post-diagnosis, we spoke a lot about her legacy. Activist, actress, director, creator, mother, sister, muse, writer, mentor, fashionista, hostess, medicine woman, and I could go on. She was all these things and so much more. She was also the most human, a human being with all that goes with being human. She carried all these big roles with a humanity and a willingness to share it all. The good, the bad, ugly, beautiful, uncompromising. She embraced it all. And in that humanity, she shared with us the possibility that we could all be high magicians, our own queen or king, the highest expression of ourself. That's what she wanted for us, our best self.
Sue wasn't afraid of the dark, and she died like she lived, with courage and passion and grace, fierceness and joy. Having had the incredible honor of being one of her caregivers, I'll tell you the truth. She held our hands the entire way, leading the way. No wallflower for her, not ever, I don't think, but not for this momentous event in her life. She was conscious until the end, whether directing, laughing, crying, hosting, always hosting. We followed her all the way to the door. She showed us how to die, how to take that walk into the unknown with awe and wonder and sacred surrender. She just kept stepping up, and that is what her legacy is. You, me, and the thousands of people she touched through her life. And thousands there are. The avalanche of love and support overwhelmed her at times. She would say, "Katrine, can you believe?" Oh, yes, Queen, I can believe. She took it in. The journey healed her not in the way that we wanted it to, but in a deep, profound way. A soul healing. The outpouring of love that came to Sue and her willingness to expose and share this most personal of journeys allowed all of us to walk our beloved Sue home. And for that, I am forever grateful. There are some humans who sparkle in the sunshine and glow in the dark. They make a trip to the moon out of a walk in the park. And when you tell them your stories, you always feel seen and heard. They make you feel safe and loved without a single word. They are the color of beautiful that you would still see if you were blind. They are the sort of wonderful that stands out from all the rest. And if you have one in your life, be thankful and know that you are blessed. We have been blessed. I miss you every day, Queen. Thank you for gracing our lives. Rachel, Lily, Kate, Jen. Oh. A dance. Yes, a dance for Sue. Sorry, I almost skipped over a...
We thought that Sue, this is a specific request from Sue. She wanted us to dance at her memorial. So we're honoring that request, and we're putting on her favorite piece of music that most of the women here who've done ceremony with her will recognize, one of her favorite pieces of music. And she asked me this specifically, if you could just stand up when you hear the music and move your bodies, or just sit, or whatever what feels right. And we'll just put it on for a moment, and then we'll probably cut it. We won't go all the way. Because we're running late and we're getting hungry, and the honoring is really, really exquisite and beautiful. So, Taylor, you want to play?
Show me what it means to be yours, what it means to be more, what it means to be more. Show me what a difference you make, what a word that you say now could mean when it's over and it comes time for change. 'Cause I'm gonna miss you, I'm gonna miss you when you're gone, I'm gonna miss you, I'm gonna miss you when you're gone. what you give. How to let go and live, live. How to let go and live. Showed me what a life this could be. What a promise you make now could mean when the day comes that everything you see is without me. 'Cause I'm gonna miss you. I'm gonna miss you when you're gone. I'm gonna miss you. I'm gonna miss you when you're gone. Cause I'm gonna miss you. I'm gonna miss you. I'm gonna miss you. I'm gonna miss you. I'm gonna miss you.
We did it.
Good move, Sue.
Hello, everyone. We are part of Sue's Ojai tribe. It is an honor to be with you all today, and we're beaming our deepest, deepest love to Sue's family and friends, Barn especially. Our dear, beloved Sue. Radiant, magnetic, beautiful, vibrant, wise, otherworldly. We all met Sue and Barn in the ceremony space about 5 years ago, and most of us were new to this work, and we didn't quite know what we were embarking on. They led us and our partners in many powerful ceremonies over the years and deeply changed the course of our lives forever.
Sue, our teacher, our guide, our friend, our spirit mother, our high priestess. While our time with you was relatively short, the impact you left on us individually and as a group was enormous.
Our sisterhood, our tribe, really grew out of our work together, and you were our champion. You saw how special we were as individuals, reflecting back to us our divine essence, even when it was hard for us to see ourselves.
You beamed with awe. You beamed with awe, pure love, and pride while our friendships and our relationships deepened. This wasn't without growing pains, but even in life's hardest moments, You always made us feel like we were exactly where we needed to be.
Thank you, Sue, for encouraging us to dig deep and then dig some more. Go under the under. For you knew that on the other side were the treasures of freedom, love, and expansion beyond our wildest dreams.
We watched with awe as you bravely and fiercely faced your diagnosis, navigating it with such grace and humility, all the while staying true to your deep inner knowing. You took cancer as a teaching, and your wisdom only amplified. We will miss hearing your Sueisms, darling heart, angel, baby, precious darling, sweetheart, how divine. But your guidance and wisdom continues to unfold in our lives. You have shown us what it means to fully be alive, to embrace it all, to excavate, to befriend the shadow, and to lead with our hearts, stepping into our divine power. You have shown us that we can be love in every moment.
We'd like to leave you with some wise words that Sue shared with us. Aspects of ourselves die as we spiritually evolve. When we release what no longer serves our highest good, it is creating space for something better. This can be a painful process. It is temporary. Don't hold on to the old. Invite the new. What we resist will persist. Hold the vision and trust the process.
We love you, Sue. And now we would like to introduce Sandy Stewart and Ayelet Cohen.
The debrief. Oh, how I miss the debrief. The morning after the workshop, the dinner party, the political speech. Sue and me always had our morning after recap. Definitely tomorrow, I'll be missing the recap. It would go something like this. Oh my God, my darling. Did you see what Carol was wearing? That necklace. Oh my God, she is the most gorgeous. And that Katerina, what a producer. Oh my God, she is beyond with that heart of gold. And Barn, my Barn. He's everything to me, and he was perfect. The flowers, the food. As everybody said, Subi loved her food. Delish, she would say. And the kids, so grown up, so mature, stunning. And the love. Have you ever felt so much love? Sue loved beauty and saw beauty in everyone and everything. She paid attention to details. Details was her art form. God is in the details, they say, and so was Sue. She curated spaces, events, dinner parties, and friendships. Ours started in 1986 at the Burbank Airport after one of our many Lazarus workshops. We had been eyeing each other for about a year when finally she came up to me and she just said, I just want to know everything about you. No one had ever or has ever introduced themselves that way. From that moment on, I was happily in love with her whirlwind and her wisdom. And then we made so much history that feels like just a moment in time today, and not nearly enough. Raising our kids together, holding hands, leaning, anguishing over our mistakes, celebrating our successes. and having fun. So much fun. So much hysterical laughter, like Bree said. The vacations with Barn and Deb's family, our family councils, our idea of a really good time. Birthdays, Thanksgiving, and carpool in our pajamas. I want so much more of all that. But most of all, I want to be sipping our tea in our pajamas on the phone the morning after. If I were to debrief your life, Sue, I would say you loved massively, you cared deeply, you had lasting impact, and you were the very best friend to so many, making us all feel like the only one. You brought astounding beauty and joy and wisdom to the world. The numbers of us deeply missing you today is a testament to how many you touched with your life. And I know when it's my time to come home, it'll go something like this. There will be Sue, smiling. Oh my God, she'll say, darling heart, the journey. Could you have ever imagined? The light, the love, the colors, the music. And please, would you take a look at those angels? The halos, the aura. And sweetheart, look at those wings. Outstanding. And one more time, we'll have our debrief. I love you, Subi. Thank you. And now I call Eilert.
Hi, everybody. I feel like everything was already said, but Sue would not take that for an excuse. So I have to give my piece. My darling, my love, it is so hard to write to you. It's like really saying goodbye. I'm writing from the edge between the mundane and the magical, like we always loved. I call you Sufi. Sufa in Hebrew is a storm. But any time we met, when I heard your voice, it was home, a safe space, warm, holding, remembering, wanting to know. You invited me to be part of your entourage of women. To be one of your women, you had to be chosen a little. But when that happened, you entered a magical, theatrical, queen's court with rule of its own, unconditional attention, fierce loving, fiery honesty, edge-walking, love of details and glamour, an appetite for seeing beyond the obvious, giving it language and honoring it. And all of it had to be embellished until it was fabulous. I love you, Sufi. We shared our children. You shared your Mama Jeannie with me. We mixed our stories together into a big wooden bowl in our imaginary kitchen. And this is how it would be told in our theater. The curtain rises. Between us, there is a field. My dream would say a wheat field. The wheat is whispering, wild, swaying from side to side, and we listen. And the wheat tells us, do what you came to do. And we say to each other, let's do it. And then we're off, words passing back and forth between us, dancing from one side to the other. We search for knowing, for something hidden, something we've never seen before, an opening, a new place, a new way of seeing. It goes on for a long while. And then a moment happens, and we know we arrived, and the field falls silent. And Sue said, I wish our conversation was a podcast. Dear Sufi, you always said we're tied together as women who carry two lanes, arms stretched wide as we can, touching two shores, our hearts divided. And now you have moved to another land. And I try to stretch my arm to catch your shore. And you say, no, my darling, not this time. The direction have changed. She reached out her slender arm, brown eyes looking deep into mine, and says, be strong on earth, darling. Don't waste your time. Do what you came to do. And I said, I will, my love, I promise. And she continues, tell them all of my beloveds, I got you. I'm right here above you. Do it, sweethearts. Be who you came to be, powerful, beautiful, vulnerable, and real. Live like kings and queens. No need to stretch your arms. Go deep into your heart, and I will come. I'm with you. You know I am. In my dream, Sue wears a blue chiffon dress, tight on her hips, a river of fabric below. She is leaving now. The edge of her blue dress leaves a wake of circle in the sky. The curtain falls. Thank you, my beauty. You have been the world to me. I will always be with you. My Sufi, our Sufi, our most wonderful storm. Thank you.
This last piece, Songbird, I wouldn't be, I think, important to introduce Sasha Lazard, who, a dear, dear friend of Sue's, who sang that exquisite spiritual earlier, came through a storm from New York and floods, almost didn't make it. And she came to sing soulfully Sue and her love for Sue to us all here. And I just want to thank her and honor her. And this is the last song, Songbird. Wow. That was just exquisite. I feel our Sue with us. I feel her happy. I feel her grateful. I feel her love for all of you. And I just want to close and thank you all in this exquisite and extraordinary community of love who showed up for my sister in ways that are almost indescribable, and beautiful and profound. And you all know who you are. You exemplified love, and showed it in meal trains, in visits, in massages, in support, in ways that cannot even be spoken. And so I just want to extend the family's gratitude and Sue's gratitude, because again, in those quiet moments where it was just her and me, as she began to face what she was facing towards the end, she would say, I think someone said it, "Can you believe the love?" And I would say to her, yes, I can believe the love. She would just grin. So I want to also thank Joshua and Christine. Thank you. Breathtaking. Taylor, who just did such an exquisite job, filled with heart on the music front. And let's go eat and drink. And just before we go, I'm going to gong, and then I'm going to blow out the candle so we can end. Yeah. Please.
The sky is blue above here and gray everywhere.
Yeah. Yes, thank you. It was very beautiful. Okay, here we go. Food is up in the main house, up the stairs. There's a terrace overlooking the valley.
Some